Hi, my name is Joseph Ally. Welcome to my channel. And today I actually feel bad about debunking this topic of manifestation. So watch to the end to know the truth about beliefs. What's the real answer? Do you have to recognize your beliefs? If you just assume that you don't have beliefs, does that mean that you won't manifest those beliefs anymore? Or do you have to go a little bit deeper, and can you surmise easily what your beliefs are? Easily change them so that they don't haunt you in the future. See, beliefs, they are tricky. Some people call them assumptions. I prefer to call them assumptions, but I think more popularly they are known as beliefs. And there's common trains of thought that are being presented to me today by my clients, by friends, by viewers about what really should you do. Should you face your beliefs? Should you run from your beliefs? Should you pretend they don't exist? Should you just assume that they don't exist and then they won't exist? Well, this is really important because it touches on the fundamentals of manifesting. And the first time, and I've told one of these stories before, but the first time I ever came upon changing a belief, it came from a repetitive pattern that I kept experiencing over and over, something that I've witnessed to be true, not something I believed was true, something I witnessed as a pattern, and that's a very serious difference. But before we jump into it, please hit the like button. It does something to the algorithm so that those who would not normally be able to see this video will be able to see it. Make sure you also hit the subscribe button, guys. Now YouTube is really good at presenting you my videos, even if you haven't subscribed. But it really helps me out. We're almost at 100K now, and I figure let's just do it then. So hit the subscribe button. We're at 99. We'll get to 100K, no problem. So hit the bell icon also. They really, again, YouTube is really good now at presenting this information, but the bell icon will, too many times people message me and say, I didn't know your video came out. Well, it's because you're not subscribed and you don't have that bell icon set to the proper preferences. But anyway, what does this deal with beliefs and assumptions? You see, the problem that I hear today is this concept that if you just don't recognize the belief, or if you deny the belief, perform a denial, then you will not have to deal with a belief. But what is this belief that I'm even talking about? Or what is an assumption? You see, an assumption is a sort of subconscious, not sort of, it actually is. It's a subconscious impulse. It's a subconscious seed that exists within you, something that you cannot recognize overtly, not unless you scrutinize your reality. Or in simple terms, you can recognize your beliefs by merely observing reality. You see, the flaw in logic that I've heard is, well, the thought that you have to change a belief is a belief. And so if you just assume you don't have to change your beliefs, then you won't have to. But you see, this is a flawed logic, and it comes from a lack of scrutiny of how the mind works and how manifesting works. You see, one of the biggest misconceptions is, and again, this is another debunking feature, but the thought that God is the mind. You see, this ego mind, and people mock, but they really do that because they don't understand. So if you're one of those people, before you make a judgment, just hear me out, because this is going to make a lot of sense. And I'm going to prove it to you, not just explain some bull. So you have your mind, and you have it right now, and you're witnessing what I'm doing with your perception, your senses, right? But I'm going to ask you for a moment to just briefly imagine something. I want you to imagine holding an apple. Imagine holding an apple with the letter J on it for Joseph, right? Close your eyes and do that. And now I want you to just become aware that you're imagining that thing. So look at that apple. Now, the fact that there is an observer that can look at that apple, and the fact that there is an apple, is the proof that there are two things that are happening there. There's the imagined and the imaginer. Now, the same thing goes for a thought. I want you to think about your name. Now, the fact that you can think of your name and observe that you're thinking about the name means that there is a name, there's a mind, and then there's an observer of the mind. Now, that's the difference between consciousness and the mind. And that is a divine difference. In fact, in Scripture, it talks about the I am, the consciousness. Consciousness is not the mind, you see. Consciousness is that observer. And in all people, all things, all living things, there is that same consciousness. And that is the same. Now, our minds are personal. That is personal to us. You see, so that difference is a big difference because it's consciousness that creates. It's not the mind. The mind is limited. It's egotistical. It does not create the plans that cause the manifestation to happen, right? There is something happening on the unconscious level. Now that is God. Our conscious mind is who I am. That is Joseph, right? I am Joseph. That means there's an I am and there's a Joseph. So with this in mind, we now want to get to beliefs. You see, there's this consciousness of being that is creative, as it says in Scripture. It's all-knowing, as it says in Scripture. It's omnipotent, as it says in Scripture. It's omniscient, as it says in Scripture. Now, look at the body, look at you, look at the mind, look at this. This is not omnipotent. This is not all-knowing. I know barely anything. A little bit of manifesting, math, and computer science, and that's about it, right? But yet, when we manifest all infinite intelligence, all infinite plans, everywhere, containing everyone, everything, that is your consciousness. That is God. That is not the mind. So you can see there's a definitive difference. Now, the reason this is important is because the creator is that consciousness. It's not the mind. But the mind contains the beliefs, right? The mind contains the beliefs. That's why you can change them. You can change them. You can imagine new things. That instills new beliefs, new patterns, new perceptions, new assumptions. But you see, the mind itself is held up within that consciousness. And consciousness, God, which is creative by nature, whatever it witnesses, it creates. In other words, you cannot separate the creativity from God. You cannot separate the creativity from consciousness. So whatever you hold up in front of it, that's why when you imagine, that's why when you visualize, that's why when you use an affirmation or a decree or you script or do the list method, it manifests. Even when you barely do a damn thing, you could script, do the list method, you're not imagining anything, but nevertheless, your consciousness, which bears witness to the things that you're writing down, is that which casts its refractive state through the medium of reality into time-space. So, in other words, you have this creative force called consciousness, which is conscious in every single person, place, or thing, irrespective of the mind. No matter what is thought, what is imagined, what is visualized, what is believed, there is all of that stuff. And then there is the pure infinite consciousness through which none of that stuff is inherent. So there's your consciousness and then everything that exists within it. Now, everything that exists within it is what is held up in front of that creative power, you see? So if a belief exists, it doesn't matter if you turn away from it or not, it exists. And that is why people, without realizing it, continuously manifest the same patterns over and over, even when they're entirely not aware of it. You see, the conflict in logic is merely that you can turn away from this thing. Well, what happens when you turn away from something, when you pretend you don't have it, when you demand you don't have it? Well, it just is no longer conscious, right? And what happens when it's not conscious? It's subconscious. Now, let me prove it to you. I want you to reflect back on the experiences of your life. And I want you to look at anything, and most commonly this happens with money or this happens with relationships, most commonly with relationships. You know, for me, every relationship I was in, no matter who the girl was, how different she was, what culture she was from, what religion she was from, what color she was, how tall she was, how fat she was, how skinny she was. I've dated everyone, every different type of person under the sun, seriously. And the reason is because I couldn't get over this problem of fear, insecurity, doubt, lack of importance. And I would always be jealous, upset, the feeling of wanting to control. And that would ruin me because I wouldn't act out on these things, so I would bottle them up, and then I would just implode. And if you know anything about me, it's not good when I implode. So no matter who and what I tried, no matter what I would visualize, no matter what girl, no matter what relationship, or with money, no matter how much I would imagine for how much or for what it was, no matter what would happen, the same patterns would unfold over and over. Whether it was the girl who continuously then would change her mind and become back and forth and not want to be involved, or if it was the money that I got and then something happened for me to lose it, it was the same thing over and over. Now, I didn't believe anything. I didn't have any inherent beliefs. I didn't say, oh, I am someone who's insecure, or I am someone who's screwed up. No, it's much more subtler than that. It's the mere assumptions that we perceive. It's our perception that impresses the subconscious. And if it's subconscious, that means it's not conscious. Now, this is important because we can detect what our assumptions and beliefs are merely by observing our reality. Now, we have an infinite expanse of past that we can witness and look at. So when you look at your past, look at the experiences that you've had, you can detect the patterns that you see, mine, insecurity, fear of abandonment, such and so forth. These are just continuous. No matter how normal I was before the relationship began, the moment I would go in it, I would be screwed up. I would ruin it. It would be destroyed. Now, this is common with everyone, but this is not, I think people mostly misunderstand what the word belief means. And I think they're assuming, or at least I'm going for the teachers who teach this stuff, because I can't imagine that if they just understood the correct definitions that they would still teach the same stuff. So this is why I'm bringing this forward, because this is provable. You can test this, right? Everything that I teach is tested and proven. So look at the past, look at your experiences, and then find the patterns. Those are your beliefs. So for example, there was a situation that I was in and we were reflecting. I was talking with someone, we were reflecting about all the relationships, all the failed relationships, all the insecurity, all the fear of abandonment. And a key component kept appearing over and over. And it was this thought that I was not important. I did not feel important. And so I was speaking with this woman and she made that very clear to me. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. Wow, why didn't I see that before, etc. It's very clear, though, obvious when you reflect on it. And that's always the case, by the way. Client after client, friend after friend, viewer after viewer, a simple change of perception. You can find that assumption and change it just like that. So I wrote down without any intention that I am important. I feel important. The next day is when I went to the coffee shop. And when I got there, this woman who I had seen for years and years before, every single day, every day for years, she said to me, wow, you look so important. And what happened at that moment was there was something that hit me. It struck me. And it was a feeling of confidence and it was a feeling of importance. And I felt good about it. And then it wasn't just a few seconds later that I realized I had written it down yesterday. And then boom, it manifested. So what was interesting about that and what I've come to find out is that was the beginning of the change of the lack of importance that I felt. Now, I wouldn't have even said that I had that belief. It's not about thinking something actively. It's merely about the manifestation of the subconscious mind, right? But what I realized happened there was it didn't necessarily immediately change the assumption when I wrote it down, but what it did was it planted a seed so that I would say that statement. In other words, I wrote it down, I feel important, I am important. And that meant now an event has to happen where I have to say those things. In the same likeness as I wrote them down and my inner thoughts said, as I was writing it down, I am important, I feel important. So the next day she said that thing. And those thoughts flooded into my mind. And when those thoughts flooded into my mind, it made an impression. And that impression then became my new assumption and belief. And so what happened after that was a whirlwind. A continuous change began to unfold in my life. And my importance level rose and rose and rose until I felt normal. And I never felt that way before. And that was the beginning of me understanding of just how easy it was to identify an assumption and just how easy it was to create a new assumption. So beliefs and assumptions are interchangeable in my vernacular. Now, others might not use my vernacular, but this is a systematic way to prove that you can do whatever you want. You should really check out my videos on micro assumptions and assumption stacking. These two videos single-handedly have caused thousands of positive manifestations and drastic life changes for those who have implemented it. Still to this day, the people who are my clients, when they come to me, that's what they say. Those are the comments that my clients and my viewers and my friends are posting all over. It's about the assumptions. This is not a joke. This is not something you can avoid. It doesn't matter if you're not aware of it. It exists within the subconscious. And as long as you're still aware, awareness itself will recreate over and over from the moment you had the first assumption that maybe no one would like you, or you're insecure, or people aren't going to treat you fairly, or whatever. Those assumptions, those initial thoughts you had impress your subconscious mind and forevermore. Or every relationship I'm in, the guy pulls away. Or every relationship I'm in, the girl is avoidant. Whatever the case is, or every business I start always fails, or I never finish anything that I start. I mean, recently I had 2 finished apps. Both times my computer broke. So what does that tell you? That's a pattern. That's an assumption. That might seem like a coincidence, but my God, it is not. Now, do I have a belief about not being able to finish and create blah, blah, blah? No, not at all. It's not a hard belief, but it's a provable assumption. And that is what we're talking about here. So the key about this is no matter what it is, if you want people to treat you nicely, if you want people to be more communicative with you, if you want people to be more, give you more, you want them to communicate more, you want people to, whatever you want them to do, all you have to do is really imagine it. But even more so, detecting your beliefs is something that you can do. It's not some hidden drastic thing that you have to reverse to the beginning of your life and figure out this thing. That's not really what you have to do. All you have to do, you don't have to go to therapy for 10 years to figure it out. You look at reality. Everyone is you pushed out. That means your subconscious pushed out. And you can prove all of this easily. Just take a piece of paper, write down the different experiences that you've had with any specific category of life, relationships, finances. Write down the information. My computer crashed when I was trying to publish this app. My computer crashed when I was trying to publish this app. When I was about to finish this, I lost track of what I was doing. So those are 3 things. It's obvious. There's a pattern. That pattern is how we derive the assumption. You don't just pretend it's not there. Right? I wasn't pretending it was there the whole time and it was still happening, right? Very simple, very easy to do, and very true. I hope that you do this and change everything in your life as easy as it is for me, my viewers, my clients, my friends to do the same freaking thing. It's so easy, but you cannot be in denial. You cannot be deluded. This is something that is visible, proven. It doesn't matter what you want to believe. It doesn't matter what I want to believe. It's a matter of what is true, what is observable. There's a difference between what is observable and what is a belief. Just because I believe that there are beliefs, that has nothing to do with it. It's a matter of what you can witness to be true. And that is what I teach. It's what you can witness and prove to be true. So I'm going to cut it there. Use it. Detect your assumptions. Detect the relationship issues, find the patterns, reverse engineer them, and then flip them. Watch those 2 videos that I recommended. Those will really help you. I'm not going to go into them too deep because I've kind of already discussed what I wanted to discuss here, but there are beliefs and assumptions, whether you believe it or not. Thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful. If it was, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Also, comment when this is a new revelation to you and you have witnessed and determined what your assumptions and beliefs are. Share them with the world. Share the changes that you have experienced. Those are what help the audience more than anything else, right? Because I can say anything just like any other person could say anything, but it's the proof is in the pudding. You have to test it and prove that it's true. And when you do, it is so easy to determine. It will shatter any failures that you've continued to experience and will replace it with the desire that you wish to be true. So like I said, subscribe, please. If you watch my videos, I ask you to subscribe because most cases nowadays have so many views, but people aren't subscribing, but the same people are watching. So hit the subscribe button, bell icon, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much.